The Beef and Barnsey Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnsey Show. I am Barnsey, as usual, joined by the unimitable Beef Stew. How are you today?
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about balls because we love talking about balls. This is going to be an election-free zone, so we're good. If you want to just come and have a chill out, not worry about your day, this is the place to be, the Beef and Barnsey Show. You can come and whine about how much the refs gave the Chiefs the game last night. You can do whatever you want. And that's only just to get at Chris. I don't really give a shit about what the refs did or didn't do. But anyway, yes, we are going to have a whole week dedicated to balls because there was so many balls come out. Thursday, we're going to do Thursday's going to be Origin Day because the Origin is basically based around the Barnes family, the marketing anyway. So we figured we might as well have a show on that. So we'll have Ryan on. Don't know if he knows that yet because he probably hasn't gotten up yet. But
oh no, he's on about hole 12 right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's I think the direction we're going to go with this. So normally when we do these ball shows, we do a giveaway. So let me know in the chat if you want to do that. We'll do the same thing with buying stuff online and super chats and everything else. Or we can just do it on Thursday's show, or we could do both. Let me know. I don't want to, it's been a good thing for both, I think. So I don't want to do our welcome. But let us know. But if we are going to do it, what we'll do is we'll do the same thing as I did last time. If you buy anything on the website, you get 2 entries basically for everything you spend. And if you do a super chat, it'll just be, you'll get 1 for everything. So, yeah. All right. Well, It seems like people want to do it. So, yeah. Giveaway Tuesday, I guess. So, let's just, for anybody who's new to the show, you can go to beefandbarnsey.com. I've got my email open, so I see when everybody makes purchases. So, yeah. Tell you what, let's combine it with Thursday. We'll do 2 giveaways on Thursday. So if you buy anything at any point all week, you'll be in the giveaway for Thursday. Let's do it that way. All right, Chris. Which one do you want to start with?
Well,
or do you want to start with Plano?
Yeah, Brian, I guess that's how the family did at Plano. Well, Ryan and Linda bombed them on Saturday. She shot 838 the first 3, which
cheers, Linda.
It's been a minute, but just in case they forgot who she was, she reminded them real quick, and they had a pretty good lead. I mean, it's not huge because it's a Swiss. They had a huge total pins lead, but not like 4 points. I think we're only in the lead after the first day, and I think they had 60 out of the 70 possible points. 2 points per player.
Run.
Yeah. Then they swept the next morning to start, and then they shot I think it was maybe 950 and lost, and they shot 10-10 and lost by count, and then they lost by count again on a tough pair, and then they had to win the last one, and they lost by, I believe it was 10 again or 20 again. So they had 3 super close losses. Our team, we led after game 1, and then that was about it. We kind of struggled through we actually won the close games, but bowled way worse. We ended up tied with them in points at eighth and ninth, but they beat us by about 350 pins. So they were eighth, and that's what Swiss format does. I think they had probably the second, maybe the second high average.
Yeah, I
by
think
the end of it,
Nathan's team ended up with the highest average.
but they finished eighth. And
Yeah.
so technically, we could throw the balls. I think Ryan threw the origin a little bit. I think Linda maybe a shot or two in there somewhere, but I think Ryan got 3 games out of it, maybe on the fresh over there.
Yeah, he said he used it on Sunday.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
use it
think
on
he shot
Saturday.
500 the first 2, and then somewhere in game 3, when they cut that pair, there was, I think they went from averaging about 240 to averaging like 205.
Yeah. Well,
I used
Jared,
weaker balls the whole time.
thanks for your purchase of the T-shirt. Appreciate it.
Well, this time, I think one of the keys to success at Plano is the scores have been really high, but they've been fairly equal to, if anything, a little bit easier on the right than the left. And that was not the case last weekend. So,
No, they definitely got their they definitely evened it up, so to speak.
yeah.
I think that it was a bit. I think people misunderstand when people talk about them being easier on the left or whatever. Like, I don't think that if you stood on the lane and you bowled the first game and there was one righty and one lefty, that they were particularly easier on the right than on the left than they were on the right. It was just they started off incredibly easy and they were probably harder with every shot you threw. And there was just way less shots on the left lane, on the left side of the lane than there was on the right side of the lane.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens a lot when the lanes are really easy.
Yeah, it was just 3/4 of the traffic's on one side, and so
Yeah,
they
but
get chopped up. And
but I think that they were really easy overall for most people. Our team ended up bowling at the high end for the majority of it. Mainly my fault. Mainly my fault because I missed in the 10th frame the first game, and to say that fucked our weekend up would be an understatement. We never really recovered from that. We ended up winning 4 points the first game. Bowled Nathan's team. Nathan bowled 270. And then we were kind of stuck at the high end of the bowl the whole time. So of course we did really bad in brackets. Won a bunch of games, but kind of didn't really recover from that. So I went through because my weekend was a little different to Chris's because we were a different part of the center for large parts of it. I started with the Ion Pro, and for me it was a little bit too angular off it. Went to the Ion Pro Max, as we would call it on the show, shiny one. Kind of got left and sort of tumbled it a little bit. That was pretty good for a couple of games. Ended up finishing up with that Vibo that I've added the reactor gloss. I've removed the reactor gloss and added Power Edge to. And for me, mind-blowingly better. Like, just so much better.
Which ball?
The Vibo.
Yeah.
Like, it's just got such a longer window that it keeps hooking. And it's so much more controllable for me. It gives me the reaction that I kind of want to play all of the time. That sort of like I can use speed and just make it, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what. And then on Sunday, I kind of joked because I went back and forth between an Absolute Power and and that same Ion Max. And 3 games running, I picked the wrong ball to start with. When you've only got 2 to choose from, it's pretty good to choose the wrong one every time. But yeah, so I used that, and then we went down to the garage dungeon, whatever we want to call it. Didn't do very well. Shot 160, and then came out of there, and then ended up using the Phase AI the last game for 250. So Yeah, we had a disappointing weekend. I felt like we had a good team and we just didn't really manage to take advantage. So
Real quick, Travis, we can't add the PBA League jerseys. Those are a different shirt manufacturer issue. So we're
and
not allowed to.
I don't think they exist anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can get them as collector's item, I apparently now, but High Five has those. So, um, going back to
So this is funny because for me personally, I hated the road. Like, and I didn't really like the attention star that much. And I really adore the Road Warrior. And so far, I've got quite positive vibes out the S2. So for me, this is what I was talking about. These were two balls that I wasn't really like super jazzed about. And me and Chris talk about this all the time. Most of the time, when you see a ball that you're not like super excited about, it becomes like, oh shit, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, you know, and the Road Warrior for me is the truth. Like, we'll get to it in a minute. I included the audio because I first bowled with it on Roth, so you can see that in a minute. Jason, thank you for the super chat. He says, I noticed the orange in Ryan's video was partially drilled out. It wasn't.
no,
Might have been the CG.
Yeah, it had to be a CG because his pins, his low pin is just above the fingers. Keep in mind, it's the center of grip for a two-hander is between the fingers. So a low pin is just above the fingers for him. And I believe his origin one is lately he's had a lot of success with throwing them. They're probably almost 3 inches above right now. And that would put the CG probably close to or around the finger.
And he says, isn't the pin supposed to be drilled out? The only reason why you would ever drill the pin out the whole way, like by sort of like rule, was in terms of warranty. Like, but there was no, you can drill the ball any way you want as long as it weighs legal.
Yeah, because effectively the pin is different colored plug.
Yeah.
And so they, for at least at one point in time, and I don't think it seems to be as much of an issue. You know, that if you drill through part of it, it seemed to make it easier for it to crack. And I haven't seen that so much. So, but
yeah, but yeah, no, you'll lower your expectations. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's something too. When you like, I wasn't buzzed about the S2 at all. I'm like, all right, it's similar numbers. It's a dull ball. It's you know, and I'm with Sue. It's gonna get some play right off the bat. I threw the Origin in League last night. Louisville it's SPL, and was able to use it all 3 games. Didn't have to particularly do anything fancy to make it go. We'll get into that probably more on Thursday, but
yeah, for sure. Because we had 3 balls, and like a lot of the time, me and Chris can bullshit for 1 ball for an hour. It felt like we'd never get to any of the rest of it. Like we've already used 15 minutes of this show. We haven't even got started. JP says, what's each of your ideal 12 ball SPI Arsenal right now? I'll answer this, but let's do the first part of the show and then I'll come back to you, JP. I feel like that's something that'd be better to like break down towards the end of the show. We'll touch on that.
You understand where some of these new balls fit in too, and
yeah, but we'll spin back to that. So, do you guys want to start with the Road Warrior or the S2? Let me know in the chat, and then we will get started. A couple of people are asking about Lightning Blackout.
Yeah, it was up here. I think it might have been Lloyd also, but he asked about a Road Warrior and a Lightning Blackout comparison, and I didn't use those two, even though they're kind of in the same category, because they're so different core wise.
Yeah,
Lightning is well, it's just a lot less flare. I guess it's not super low RG. like the IQs
Seems like
are.
the Road Warrior is the definite winner.
But all right.
Yeah, like for me, the Lightning Blackout is just. I think it's much better for straighter players, because I think that if you keep it in front of you, I feel like it's much better. Once you start to open your angle up, I think that I personally believe that once you want to play big angle, you need flare. And I think if you don't have it, it just makes it really difficult as you're going across the lane to predict what the ball's going to do. So I think lower rev rate players who like going straighter are going to like the Lightning Blackout much better. Even though it feels like higher rev rate players should like it, I just don't think it slows down enough for them to use. Whereas, like, for example, Tina, she really likes using that Lightning Blackout to be just a step up from her hustle. Whereas me and Chris don't really have a gap there. Like,
Yeah, it's not quite the same gap, and
yeah,
and the average pattern has just gotten a couple of feet longer, even on house patterns, and it's
yeah,
affected some of those balls that were great for a long time, including IQ Tour was a great ball for a long time, and now it feels like a lot of times it's good when you're pretty straight, with a little bit of angle, but you can't really start going like 17 to 7 with it because it has a hard time climbing out of it. But
Matt says, yeah, I got a blackout and I'm a straight guy. That makes a lot of sense. I'm a fan. Yeah.
yeah,
All
and
right.
that's when I use I've liked the lightning blackout because I like to play those angles at times. But
Yeah.
it's a good call. And maybe we'll do an update at some point and see if we can put something together.
I just think it's very that ball's very nichey, so it's very difficult to compare it to anything else because it's not really like anything else. So here's Chris, his full review with all of the
RGs
bells
and
and
diffs.
whistles. Let me just
Okay,
mute
for
you.
me,
Is up online right now. We just put it up this morning, so all the comparisons and the usual good stuff is up there. So, what did you think? Because this was ITRC, right?
ITRC, and this we did a bunch of videos before this, and Ryan was bowling too. So you see in the middle, I start moving into out of my traffic and then into his, and get to make some pretty big jumps. But I wanted to get the lane to hook a little bit so we could see, where I landed. And the first thing that pops out is how much easier it got through the first 25 feet of the lane. And
Yeah.
I mean, no effort. I got to do exactly what I want to do. If I want to put it down right into the lane and grab it and roll it, it still went through the lane and still had, more diff than say the lightnings and those balls that we've been using lately to kind of create some of that shape and hustles. Uh, when you got slower, it still had the ability to go way around it. Uh, ITRC can be funny on these kind of balls because it doesn't really hook a ton down lane there on pro lane, and can make things look a little closer. But overall, I thought it fits a gap that we've been missing for a while. The hustles are good, but like you say, when there's some oil down lane, you need something that flares a little bit more than that. And this feels like this fits back in that high road pearl kind of.
It almost feels like it's the one that Storm made their name from.
Yeah.
Like that gap. Like for a long time.
Was it X factors and
well, the X factors were A symbols, but I'm talking about like when we had all of the road line, like even going back to like T roads, like T road Pearl was like fantastic ball, like PA, basically all of PA's arsenal, like all those balls, like, and to me, it's the first ball that I've thrown symmetrically wise, that I felt like for a while that I could do whatever I wanted with the ball. And like, I could keep my hand really up the back of it and it would stand up a little bit earlier, but it would still continue. And I could rotate, like it was very responsive to what I wanted it to do. How much of that is the cover? How much of that's in my mind? How much of that is the new Power Edge? I don't fucking know. I don't build them. I just throw them. So Dan says, do you find the lanes play differently when the temps get colder outside and the air conditioning is turned off? Yes, a little bit, but some of the centers, especially if you have an older mechanic, are kind of dialed into that. And they kind of make a little bit of a change with the pattern sometimes. The biggest difference I notice when they turn the air conditioning off is the approach has become awful.
That's the biggest thing. The humidity changes in the building when you get these funny in between, like in Texas right now, we're in that 65 thing where the AC doesn't really kick on and it almost feels warm in the center because there's no airflow. Now, the one great thing about SPL, there's so much texture in the approach. The approaches are still a little bit better, but they were definitely tackier. When we came back on Sunday at Plano, it had rained overnight. It was cooler outside. The AC had got turned on late, and the approaches were tacky for a little while. The other thing is lane machines. A lot of them, they have heaters and they heat the oil up anyway. And so the temp of the actual oil as it gets applied, that used to change a lot between summer to winter, depending on where it was stored and those kind of things. And that has been mostly neutralized. And so it's closer than it's ever been. Weather always plays a factor. Lane men have been using it as a reason forever. But, in general, the approaches are probably the biggest thing to look out for, especially with older approaches.
But thanks for your order, Dan. Just got your order on beef and Barnsey. I will have you loaded in for when we start the show on Thursday. That drawing will probably be the following Tuesday because it takes me a while to enter all the names and because I kind of like that thing we did last time, the wheel, spinning the wheel. So no.
Adam, this is a really good question, actually. Have you tried the Lightning Blackout with the new Power Edge polish? Have not, but it's on the list.
We have spoken about it.
Especially me, because I did like the Lightning Blackout to begin with. And so, but I liked it better with the polish off of it and using it as more of a kind of dry middle.
Yeah, you almost use
12-ball Arsenal thing.
I was about to say a slightly quicker IQ Tour, right?
Right.
Slightly more responsive.
Yeah, and then the Ion Pro came out and it kind of took that slot over pretty good.
So somebody asked a question that they were a lefty. There it is. I think this is a decent question. He says, hi, great show as always. Lefty here.
Oh, sorry.
It says, I have an XL and a Lightning Blackout and a Tour Dynamics. What should I get to replace the Tour Dynamics? Well, to me, if you like the Tour Dynamics, you're not going to find anything that's close to that because the Tour Dynamics is a whole different reaction to me than any other ball. Like, I don't think it's a very good reaction. So I don't think that they're trying to produce lots of Tour Dynamics. But if I was looking to improve your Arsenal, I think an Ion Pro is kind of like what we were kind of hoping the Tour Dynamics would be. I really like the motion out of the Ion Pro. It's just a better option than the Tour Dynamics.
My lefty over the weekend in the SASBA did throw the Ion Pro and then ended up later on going to Ion Max. But those are the two balls he basically threw most of the weekend. And a little more shape, less than the XL, more back end though. And then it should fit in between the Blackout and the XL.
Yeah, sorry. I'll turn mine down a little bit.
Or do I need to turn mine out? I did move the mic closer there for a while, but
so there we go. We're good. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look at me and the Road Warrior because it's all about me.
a small adjustment there. Let me know if that's okay.
I can't explain to you guys how much I love this ball. I get so excited when I get to throw this ball. I'm so happy. So, The first part of this video is on the Holman pattern, and that's actually the second time I used it. But I was doing short to long. But I included the audio because I started off thinking I was going to record a video with the Rode. So I had a mic on with the Road Warrior. And then I sort of got distracted by a couple of things, but I kept the mic on because I wasn't going to take it off just to record footage. So I've included like kind of the raw audio, and it's like my first 10 shots with it. So kind of fun. So anyway, this is a Holman pattern. I put it down because I did, I used the attention star on this first, and then I used the origin, and then I recorded with this Road Warrior.
So you're just getting a little slower each shot, and then the first one was firm, second was slower.
I just kind of kept moving left to see how far I could get, and like I could bowl basically any arrow with this ball. It was incredible.
And the further left you get, the more it gets to the spot so clean.
Yeah. I've got one shot in here that's an absolute
That
pinch.
one probably got just a touch behind it.
Yeah. You're going to love the one shot though, Chris. It's fantastic. But yeah, to me, it's just like super continuous. It doesn't feel like it gets forward almost at all. And I haven't really seen that out of some of the balls we've had recently. But I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's like, it's almost perfect ball motion. Like, I know it sounds like I'm being ridiculous. Not that one. There's one that's way more fun than that. Now, I wouldn't ever be playing the lanes this far left, like this early, but I could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it gave you the option, which is nice.
There it is.
Oh, there you go. Hello.
Oh, shit. So anyway, it gave me the option to play.
But to your point, the thing we haven't had for a while is the problem.
Here we go.
Of the ball getting behind it and then being too angular behind it.
Like these are definitely my first like few shots with this. So just keep watching. So I'm like, this is rough. It's kind of beaten up. And you know what? We've spoken about 4 count being a good thing before, haven't we? Like you 4 count and it's a good motion. So I'm starting to think, I can move a bit further left than I expect. And then this happens. So now, just listen to this. Ooh. Wow. I'm so happy.
That strikes.
Holy shit.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, for the love of fucking God.
Language.
And that was 100% organic. I was just like
you forgot you had your mic on.
Yeah, I was just like, and like, I've also got the phone call recorded that I had with Timmy going, have you fucking seen this thing go down the lane? It's unbelievable. And Timmy's laughing with me. But I was blown away. Like, because to me, the road just wasn't it. Like, I felt like the cover was too strong. And like, for me anyway, to use it.
Bad marriage.
It just didn't work. So when they said there's another road ball, I was just like, why? And then this thing turned up, and I'm like, well, it's kind of pretty, whatever. And I speak to a couple of guys at the office, and they're like, no, you're going to really like this one. This one's like, were really pleased with this. And you're kind of like, yeah, okay, dude, whatever, whatever. So I kind of like had beat the lane up and I said, well, let's see. Let's see what it does. And then I started off kind of straight and it wasn't really that spectacular. And then I got the 4 count, and we've spoken about this quite a few times. For me, as long as you've got somewhere to move left, a 4 count's actually not a bad thing, because most times when I 4 count, I've got really good ball shape. I'm just too far right.
Yeah, it means it's pretty sharp off the end of it for sure. And so, yeah.
And then I just moved left and just let it go. And I kind of called you after it, and I was like, oh, we've got the ball for the middle of the bag now. And you were kind of like, yeah, okay, you like these balls, I don't, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So you call me the next day and you're like, so how should I drill this? Whatever. You drilled it, whatever. You went and bowled. And the next minute, I get this cheesy grin with Chris holding the ball good. And then I look behind him and there's 300 bowled.
Yeah,
So,
I went out on Wednesdays, which is right now at Louisville. That's where I do my videos. But the high school's in there now, in the window and on the section of the center I was at. So I can't do videos really now. I'm kind of in between a bunch of open play. But so I snuck the balls out there anyway, because I wanted to throw them just a little bit. I threw the Origin half dozen shots. I throw this one like 1 or 2, and then it kind of comes off. All right, I throw a few more and a few more. And I was keeping score, but it happened to start at the start of the game. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got a 4-bagger now. You got to keep going. It's the first ball, the first time I've thrown it. And then 5, and then 6, and like that, and then because I'm in the middle of open play, and now people are starting to, go and look, oh my gosh, a 6-bagger. And so we just keep going. I'm like, holy crap, this ball is it a little the same thing. Like I was bowling after the senior league. There was a little bit on the other end. So there's a little bit of plastic ball carried in. Not what I thought I would love this ball on. But again, Power Edge seems to roll through that stuff so much better. And it did get through the front so easy. And I'd forgotten how much friction there is in SPL. And so now I can basically stand in the same place I was standing with stronger balls. It goes through it and makes it all up on the back half of the lane. And I'm like,
it honestly, when I throw it, it makes me realize just how often my ball burns up without me knowing. Because I look at the numbers and I look at the cover and I know how much weaker that is than the ball I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
But it hooks more, like it covers more boards. So I know that it's just, I know that it's the ball just isn't burning up. But like, we just haven't had a ball in that gap for so long.
Yeah.
Like that's made me like have confidence that it was going to, we're talking about the Road Warrior. But he says, Blue Damon says, I have an OG High Road. Is it worth replacing it with the Road Warrior? It depends how much you use it and how good a condition it's in. But I think it's the best thing I've seen recently to make an argument for replacing your High Road.
Yeah, I mean, it is polished versus the original High Road. Is it really?
No, that was polished too.
Is it?
Yes.
That's how little we've thrown the High Road. I haven't even.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since we've really had High Roads in play.
Yeah. And it's something that's been missing. The true test will be on tour, when you start
100%.
pulling all the traffic. But it's the first one that I'm pretty excited about. Hey, we might have one that we can get around all the power players that's clean enough to get through that spot and still hook down lane. And it's a tough combination to do. And anyone who's a low to medium rev rate player knows exactly what I mean.
And I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I chatted with Belmore about it. He'd thrown it because he threw it for some of the videos and stuff, and he's pretty jazzed about this one as well. we were kind of talking about, some of the balls that we'd liked and used over time, and just, yeah, this is, and we actually we'll know by week 2 whether this ball is all hype or not, because we're starting in 2 places where they hook.
Yeah, Delaware
Delaware
15 years ago.
And then Indy.
Yeah.
2 of the super high lineage. What's he done this time?
Was there something? I think lately he's been pretty positive about hyping his players and doing some stuff and, celebrating some success stories. He's one of the smarter guys around. I haven't always bought into all of his theories, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have some things that are pretty usable.
And
I think he's adapting over time too.
We got another order from Joel, so thank you, Joel. I will add you to the list for Thursday's show. But yes,
the other thing with the high road that does change from the other high roads, 16, 15, 14, identical numbers.
Yes.
So this ball is going to be, it's not nearly as subjective as like the OG high road. I mean, I didn't really throw it because it wasn't the same ball in 16. It wasn't even close. It was 5 points less in RG and more differential.
Oh, way more. Yeah, it was. You could only really use the 16-pound high road on longer patterns.
I mean, it was a strong medium.
Yeah, I mean,
almost.
I'm not joking. It was closer to being a phase 2 than it was a high road.
Oh yeah,
in 16.
I mean, it might have been at times even felt like it was even stronger because it wasn't as controlled. Wasn't quite as controllable.
So
it's been asked a couple times. We've covered it before, but over time it's becoming pretty smooth. It's a very control. It's a shiny control ball. I think it's got a spot, especially on some of the cliff and some of the the wet dry type things. I see it as a ball that if you like the cosmos and like to kind of stand up against it, I think this is a ball that might let you do some of that. That's where I see it fitting in most.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had it. It wasn't better than the phase 2 in my arsenal, so I didn't really replace it. It's kind of, I didn't see a time where I would use that instead of the phase 2 for me. And I didn't feel like I've kind of moved on from using super strong symmetrical balls. I feel like if I'm going to do that, I'd rather use more core in an asymmetrical ball.
Exactly, Randy. You can have a 16-pound road that's not 2 balls up from everybody else's. Exactly. Joel, thank you.
Yep, we got it. Thank you. Right. So now, attention star S2. Sequence 2 is what that stands for, Chris.
Yeah, I kind of forgot in the middle of my video. I'm like, I don't know. It's a S2.
Well, I didn't actually know because I hadn't read I just called it the S2 just because. Schlem always has pretty good ball naming ideas or whatever. So anyway, I think that I'm going to be fascinated to see how this one goes because I think that some people feel like they just took an attention star and they dulled it because it's kind of similar color.
It does look a little like in that vein, but
I have used a dull attention star and I think that this ball is still more rounded than a dull attention star. Like I think it's more continuous than the dull attention star that I had. So for whatever it's worth, like I think that it picks up earlier than if I was to dull an attention star. And I think that it's, like I say, it's more continuous. But we're talking, whatever.
Yeah. No,
in
I think they're
terms of
different
that.
shape profiles in
Yes.
general, but it did have that thing that you really like is like I rolled it and that's an easy thing for me to check is how much it gets forward and how quick it gets forward,
Mm.
and it didn't.
Not certainly not as much as the attention star does.
No, and not as much as some of the other bigger balls that we've had, and certainly not as much as a lot of ASIMs do for me in general. It had that profile that went, we've used the absolute power in this kind of window in here, and so I'm excited to see what it looks like when we get a chance to really take the training wheels off and throw it because you said it was I didn't like the attention star, so I didn't have many hopes. There's some balls up in this other category that you've seen balls that get quick and then get forward, and I'm like, ugh, I don't really want to. I don't need another one of those. Those
Yes.
aren't great for me. They're great for some other guys for sure, but so far very.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find.
Attention star STU. It's too easy. There you go. Face of the brand.
This isn't good.
So he's trying to load up some of this stuff, but
I'm trying to. I was trying to find your ball review on the because I couldn't. Yeah.
yeah.
I wasn't doing a very good job. Let me just share the screen.
Yeah, this was one that I was very pleasantly surprised about, and I didn't have high expectations, and that plays into it some, but certainly has a long continuation window, which means it's good for a lot of different players, in my opinion.
So let's get right past your bullshit, Barnes.
There.
So that one then would look clean enough that it could have almost been the somebody did say in the comments about your video on this that that they thought that you were doing a video for the spare ball because you shot all your spares, and I guess Louisville wasn't being particularly friendly with the.
Yeah, this isn't my favorite pair to do ball videos on. The left lane's a lot better than the right lane,
but yeah, this is kind of what you're talking about. How it still like continues down the lane.
Yeah, that video actually got better at the end where I finally got a little bit lined up. Sometimes you do these things and the no practice, we're walking right in. The real talk doesn't.
Doesn't
and I was
help.
with Ryan that day, so we'd already done some, and again, rolling into his blow up area. End up having to move. I think I had to move like 8 or 10 or something before I finally got the right spot. But the one thing that showed up is it just kept hooking. Yeah, I'm like 6 frames in. We were almost far enough. I'm like, I don't ever restart them, but I was thinking about it. I finally got far enough left.
Yeah.
Like this isn't really fair because I kind of like what this is doing, but I just can't. Like I keep moving into more of his hook, which is a tour problem for sure.
Yes. But the thing is you're not getting that kind of forward motion down the lane still, which actually
when I moved left, it didn't go, oh, okay, now
go.
there's 4. And like, I got far enough left, and then it almost 9-pinned. I'm like, well, that's not what I thought was going to happen. Because obviously I was 10 right of that earlier.
But you had a clean game going.
Yeah. Spare shooting's started working on a few things. It's getting a little better. Took my hand out of it, got a little forward. Now that wasn't a super big surprise.
Yeah.
It's not a real angular ball. Then I got further left.
And like for you, using something that's kind of that slow and being that far left is kind of unusual, right?
Yeah, I don't really get to do it much. It's not my skill set. And then I throw it up against the Ion Max. I throw it up against some balls that
But just quickly on that though, I think that you would like to use that motion. It's just that the way way everything's gone in recent times, you haven't really been able to. Like when you were at the height of your powers, you weren't using super quick balls when you were left.
No,
you were just
No, and
having balls that
even
were
the quicker ones,
continuous.
I made them be smoother, but, somewhat like EJ, uh, as far as using my rev rate and being on the left edge of the pattern to, controlling the pocket but still striking. It was kind of the Walter Ray theory, and he was beating all of us, so it seemed like a pretty good one. But I used an XL. And you could tell the Ion Max was like 2 or 3 feet sooner and lazier.
Yes.
It didn't go through the pins the same way, and the XL went through them okay, but it was smoother as well, and it hooked more overall.
I would think, like, don't like hangers on the wall on this one, but I would think that in my mind anyway, based on what I've seen, I would think that the absolute power and the XL and the Attention Star S2 have covers that are in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Whereas, they might be over here and the Ion Max is over here. Like the Ion Max and the Harsh Reality and like
Reality and Gem before that.
Gem, like those balls to me cover way, way stronger than these. Like whatever that is, I would think based on what I've seen that they're in the sort of like R2S / Rex section of our like covers rather than being way up the high end on the nano based.
And in my system in the heavy control, this would be more this would be ball 2 for me for sure. Cleaner and a little more shape than an Ion Max. I felt like I could play much deeper on the lane, even though that was a low pin. Actually, all those balls were all low pins, and it had the most continuation of all of them. Even over the cell, which is a little bit higher RG, but the cell cover feels like it's a little stronger than the S2 as far as earlier.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would say it would
quite a bit stronger than Ion Pro, but
yeah,
for me, category closer.
If you're talking about total strength, I would say the original Attention Star and the S2 are closer to each other in terms of total overall strength than the Ion Pro. If you're talking about like kind of smoothness of shape, I could see how the Attention Star S2 and the Ion Pro are kind of, complementary, so to speak.
Definitely a ball up from that, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Ion Pro, if I wanted to stay with something smoother off my S2, the Ion Pro would make a lot of sense. Personally, like when I'm getting out of a ball like the the S2, I'm probably going to want to go to something a little quicker though. Just kind of how the transitions sort of go. Yeah. And that's a little bit where you have the with your matrix. I think your matrix works really well for 6, but I think that once you get into higher amounts of balls having it, I think that sometimes the stack thing that I talk about works well. Like if I'm in this ball, even though this ball, they kind of make sense, I would never go from this ball to this ball because if I'm playing this shape, this is way too similar to the same shape. It's just less. But if this shape's not working, then I'd need something that was more angular. I wouldn't need the same shape but less.
Right.
So that's where it can be a little bit like, to me anyway, once you get past sort of 6 balls, you have to kind of know, and this is what I was talking to Hope about a little bit the weekend when I was born with her, is you should have like in your mind when you throw and like pick a ball that you use a lot.
So if you go from an Ion Pro Max, hey, my ball off the Ion Pro Max is.
Yeah, when I see the Ion Pro Max, when I see the Ion Max doing X, it's going to direct me. But sometimes it's a little easier. Like, so for example, for me, if I'm using like absolute power and I'm seeing it do one thing, it's going to tell me almost immediately it makes way more sense for me to go to this. So if I'm using the ion, the absolute power, and it's getting, it's just not really enough down the lane. DNA coil is my next port of call. Like that's the one that makes the most sense for me right now in my arsenal. I'm going to go DNA coil. And if I see the DNA coil then suddenly like change direction super quick, then I'm going to go, okay, then it's probably the Ion Pro. But if I see that the DNA coil is a little lazy still, then I immediately know that the Vibo's the next one. But if I'd gone from the absolute power to the Ion Pro, it doesn't necessarily tell me if the Ion Pro doesn't quite work. It doesn't give me a definitive answer of what I should go to.
Yeah.
And I
the
think
Ion Pro to Road Warrior feels like that's a natural progression. Core wise, more similar. You're just getting more RG, more polish. You're going to get more kick.
exactly.
But you're kind of in the same ball category. Whereas from a Vibo to that is a pretty big jump.
Yeah. I just think that like when you make the changes, sometimes trying to skip a step or a frame to get to the ball that you think it might be isn't always the best way to do it. Going through your progression so that you know fundamentally, well, it can't be this branch, it's got to be this branch of your arsenal is really important. And if you sort of go like you're here and you've got a ball here and that splits off, if you make the wrong choice trying to skip a step, it can get really confusing. And then you end up, you're just throwing darts at the wall trying to just guess which ball you should use. This is funny because I really like Power Edge and I really like the DNA coil, and I think that the Power Edge made the DNA coil worse. Like, I way preferred the DNA coil with the reactor gloss on it. I can't really put my finger on what was wrong with it. It just wasn't as good. It just felt like it, I don't know. It just felt like it was a bit earlier, and that kind of took it out of the gap I wanted it to be in. And then I felt like the DNA coil was quite continuous already. So I didn't really need it to be like more continuous, if that sort of makes sense. It just kind of made it a little too smooth. And then I felt like I had to rotate it more.
Yeah, and that's where those kind of balls can get for me sometimes, and that's why I don't end up liking them. So when I have to start at what's a tool, and then I don't have enough of a window. Well,
just let me answer this. It says, no, the problem is that actually shouldn't be on the website. That's a Cool Wick product. And I know this sounds a little ridiculous because Cool Wick make all the shirts for us, right? And that beef stew thing is supposed to be a link, but we've never really had the website corrected. So if you order it, just send an email to beefandbarnsey.com and we can adjust it. Like in the back end, I can just send her an email. If you don't want to do that, you can just order it directly off the Cool Wick site, which is kind of where the order's supposed to come from. And then you can just choose everything. But yeah, we've had that issue a couple of times. Sorry about that. Sorry, what was the question that you were trying to get to?
There you go. No, I think we both like the Ion Pro. But it's a unique piece. It's a piece that does stand out as far as it does something different than a lot of the other balls.
No, for me, I love the Ion Pro. I love the fact that it's different. I think it's a whatever, like 22nd century, for want of a silly description, version of the IQ Tour. I think that it does require being a little stronger though, layout wise. I prefer them. I drill those balls almost an inch stronger than I drill regular balls. And I think that works out better. But like I say, for me, I really like the Ion Pro because it's significantly different from the other balls we have, and I think that's really important. Someone says the Ion Pro shines up really fast. Yeah, I think it does a little bit. I tend to keep mine with a decent bit of surface on it, but yes, I do notice that also.
Yeah, I saw a lot of them on the rocks at Plano, and like I said, that's pretty common in place. They were easy, but they hooked in the front because that surface is so new and there's so much texture there that it was hard to get the bigger equipment through unless you lofted it or threw it pretty firm. And so there wasn't a lot of dough balls going down the lane.
We just that I guess there's a little girl walking around the street with her parents, and she just walked straight up the grass on our house and just was like, "He's on a microphone."
She's looking in the window. You're a big deal. That's right.
Oh shit. So anyway, let's put up the clips of me throwing the S2. Again, this is me over on the Holman pattern. This was the fresh on this. Trying to see what would happen if I control the friction, because this pattern has quite a lot of friction to the right. I think it's actually a pretty good pattern to train to understand how to have bigger angles, because there's so much friction to the right that you can really start to throw it out there.
And the gutter actually hooks there.
Yes.
So,
like I say, for me, you can see the pretty long continuation window of this ball. It still keeps coming, which is not for me what I saw out of the Attention Star at all. The Attention Star was super, super popular. It just wasn't necessarily the one for me. I'm getting quite greedy here because this is fresh, 38 feet, and I'm bowling middle arrow. I tried to go all the way back to the right here, but yes, you can see like there's way too much friction.
little girl's trying to take down your sign.
On that, real quick, I don't think I've ever met anybody who had a political sign in their yard that I thought made sense. Whichever team you supported.
Right.
It just seems like a good excuse to get a brick through your window. Whichever way you do it. So here's the Roth pattern. This is fresh. Like I say, for me, it's a little stronger than I expected, I think. I'm not 100% sure what I expected, but this is a bit more than I expected it to be. I think it's a step up from an Absolute Power for me. Probably not quite as quick off the spot as the Absolute Power, if I was being totally honest from what I saw. But
I thought it to be longer than the XL, stronger than the Absolute Power.
Kind of, yeah. I signed to see that.
Definitely below the Ion Max.
100%. 100% below
And
the
so
Ion Max.
somebody asked what it was like compared to a UFO alert, and like, well, I couldn't
Nothing
tell you.
close. The UFO alert's way closer to the original Attention Star, and I don't think
Probably
it's that close to that.
That's probably closer. Smoother than the Attention Star, or longer window of usability. Something that long continuation window it has a lot to do with usability.
100% for us.
Yeah, and I think that translates into more styles at the consumer level. You know, the longer that window is, that's what made the high road. It wasn't really that it hooked like it was super sharp down lane. It just hooked in this big long window, which meant if you threw it straight, it hooked here, and if you had a lot of rotation, it hooked here, and it still worked for a lot of people.
I am kind of fascinated sometimes, like what necessarily influences like people with their sales, like like what makes them super jazzed about a certain ball, because like the Attention Star has been like crazy popular, right? Like crazy popular. But I swear, like when I've been bowling, and I understand that I'm probably a little biased because I really like this ball, but I've seen way more people have good ball motion with the DNA coil than I have with an Attention Star. Like, and I'm like, that ball's much better for you than this ball, but you really like this ball.
Yeah.
It like to me, it's fascinating, like how some balls like really like appeal to customers and others just don't. And that's I think that's the hardest part for everybody involved. Like for
The chips
me,
you want versus the one you need.
100%. And you can't argue it. Like I say, the attention star has been super, super popular.
The S2 is stronger. It's earlier.
Yeah.
That's what we say stronger. It's earlier on the lane. I think it probably hooks a little bit more overall as well. But the original one will be sharper down lane. For us, we feel like it also gets a little more forward quicker, which for a certain demographic, that doesn't matter because it doesn't play into if you're speed dominant, the forward thing never comes in. So a little off topic for this one, but it's a great question. When you do have them on the house shot, you can basically just aim to go around that spot a couple of boards to the right of it, and it works on basically every house shot. Draw a line back to the arrows if you're not,
And it's funny because I was about to say on the house shot, like I never, ever, ever pay any attention to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And like when we're on the patterns, like sometimes, especially longer patterns, if you get it outside the outside one, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like I'd sometimes like because to me, sometimes there is everybody's aiming somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that really scares Chris about the younger generation because he realizes quite how little they like really look at where they're throwing it. But everybody's aiming somewhere, but what you might describe as to what you're bowling and what you are bowling aren't necessarily the same thing. Like reaction wise, they're just not. Like it's just whatever. Now, ironically enough, of all the people I've ever been around, Belmo is unbelievable at knowing exactly where he needs to be to bowl that line, whatever that line might be. Like, and I've been around like Duke and I've been around you and whatever, but the way that Belmo can just stand there and be like, well, if I want to do that, and like he doesn't walk straight.
Yeah.
Like, and
it looks about 10 left.
When we used to warm up on those blue lanes,
yeah,
I remember it in Maine like it was yesterday. And this is when I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to beat him. Like he said to me, he goes, I don't give a shit. Throw a shot anywhere. I'll trace it. Right. The lane was fresh. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, big bollocks. And I went up and I just threw a shot like that was like no chance could I have bowled that reaction like, properly. Like it was like super steep and it went and it hit the pocket. And Belmo just looked at me like, yeah, okay. And Belmo stood there and he thought about it. And he got up. And like you almost couldn't see he'd bowled. And I'm like, I couldn't even repeat that shot. And I threw the first one. Like, so I just think that like that's the thing where those down lane traces help a little bit because you can think that you're like a little less angle through the front than you think you actually have. And then you're just like, man, I keep 210ing. But if you see it get outside that mark down the lane and that's the 210, then you just know, I just really need to like, square up to the lane a little bit more. So that's the only time for me that they're particularly useful. When I'm bowling on the house shot, I'm not really that bothered about that because most times the ball's slowed down before those.
EJ is very good at using that target too, and he looks a long way down the lane.
I was about to say EJ is really good at controlling the down lane thing, isn't he?
Yeah, he when we bowled in Hong Kong, the world, and they were hard. He was hitting the back end of the tracer. He wasn't just trying to get it to that spot. He was actually aiming at a pretty small spot at the back end of it, which everyone else was getting it there sooner, and he was putting it on them. And once we understood what he was doing, it cleared up the picture for the rest of us a little bit too. He's such a feel guy that sometimes it's tough for him. Like he can turn it off, I think, and just play shapes. He can bowl in the dark too, and bowl fine. But if you put the little tracer thing that the Kegel has on the lane torch, I think it is, he can follow the lines. He's good at kind of like Belmo. He's got a little savant thing going on where he can just that's the one. Okay, I can do that, and I'll just make it go there. Excellent eye-hand coordination and high-level skills.
I was about to say, I do think it's a little easier when you know that your ball doesn't slow down before it gets.
It would stay on the same line. That does help.
Yeah. It is a little easier. I do wonder a little bit whether I should have regretted it. I had a conversation with EJ about 3 years ago, and it was funny because I was like complimenting him while saying to him a little bit like, the thing that's amazing about, because he was kind of like, oh, well, when Belmo gets to do his thing. And I was like, yeah, but Belmo doesn't really have a thing. Like, you guys are really good at like throwing it almost to one break point, whereas Belmo's really good to throwing it at like 3 different ones front to back down the lane. So it looks like he's doing the same thing, but he's really not. Whereas when it's the super long one, Prath is really good. And when it's the super early one, you're really good. But Belmo's pretty good at all 3 of those. And EJ looked at me and he was like, I've not really thought about it like that. And like with EJ, you never get that conversation because EJ always gives you the, like he's pretty confident. And I was like, oh, shit. Wish I hadn't said that out loud.
Yeah, I think you gave him something else to look at and then he kind of got better at it.
Yeah, I'm not in any way saying that was what it was, and it might have just been like an odd conversation, but it was interesting. We were having that conversation, and then he was just like, "Oh," and like sometimes that's the fun thing about chatting with other, players. Like they just look at it slightly differently, and it's something you've never really necessarily thought of. And it's interesting how everybody has their own process to get to it, and probably part of the reason why. I'd noticed that was because I got to watch the finals more than he did. Like I'd seen him and Belmo bowl way more than he'd seen him and Belmo bowl, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's EJ's. It's incredible the way he doesn't let the outside noise affect him. Like
he's got
the late being easy doesn't worry him.
He doesn't like the outside noise, and he's gotten good at eliminating it. Some people court it.
Yeah.
Some people it bothers, and they shouldn't. He used to be a little bit of that, and has gotten really good at keeping it away.
It's really good watching him, like because he doesn't care if it's super easy or super difficult. He doesn't care if it's the first game of the tournament or the last game of the tournament. Like, it's really impressive watching it. Like how he can just dial in, and it is what it is. He's just as likely to lead if it's 216 or 246.
From a psychology standpoint, it's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's not always doesn't make him the most entertaining guy sometimes because he doesn't follow the emotion of the event. He plays at a place that makes him the best player, which is what he's done the last couple of years. And certainly for the last 5 or 6 years, been in that very, very small group competing for it every year.
A couple more questions before we go. Question, guys. Is it my imagination? Do all the balls lane shine a little quicker now than the old stuff? I've got a couple of theories on that. I think that maybe there isn't quite as much surface on the balls as there was. Because just in general, like the lanes are getting a little older, the balls are a little stronger, so they don't put as much surface on. So,
Mhm.
That's the first theory. The second theory is the lanes are more screwed up now than they were before. So they kind of take the surface away from the balls, like because everything goes back to being the lane, principally. And then the third part of it is, the oils definitely have changed. We spoke about this. Like
Yeah.
it
The
used
oils
to
are
be
way
you could,
thicker than they used to be. They don't go away. They don't wipe away as easy.
yeah. I mean, it used to be that you could use the old balls and they were like, it actually was a cool thing to have some of those older balls. Now I see the price that some people are like trying to like it and selling, not trying to, but are selling balls for. And I think they're crazy, like that people are paying that because I just think relative to the other balls, the balls might not be as good now as they were before. But it's almost like trying to use a persimmon driver. Like
Yeah.
it's just
I was just actually came up not too long ago, and when the last time I bowled for the Pan Am Games, we were at the ITRC, and they were fairly hard. And I ended up using it's long enough ago I was with Columbia, but I was using a Red Pulse, and it hooked as much as anything else. That was literally almost 20 years, 15 years newer
uh-huh.
at the time, and it was fine. And about 2 years later, that thing just became a dot,
To quote Dara, a dart.
a dot. Oh yeah, a dart. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just became a spare ball. Like all of a sudden, like oil absorption became more of a thing. Underlying surface, on these balls became a thing. Then the oils got a little thicker, and in reaction to it, and ice oils and those things came out, and it just didn't hook anymore the same way. And then we've gone through another evolution in between there, where I had balls that I thought, man, that ball's really good. I'm going to grab that one again, and balls I think continue to cure, uh, for lack of a better description, like concrete does, and it continue to get a little harder over time, and so yeah, I'm not a I like to throw the balls that I'm throwing, and I'm not into re-drilling new ones to get the same reaction, and until they're officially gone. And most of the time, by then, it's time for a newer version of that's out, that's current.
Chris has turned into the stay off my lawn guy again. Love him.
Nah,
He's back, baby.
we're good
but-
once.
So two last things. We still got to do that question from earlier. And
Yes.
the other thing is Red Pulse, best marketing campaign ever.
Yeah. If
Remember
you,
the poster?
yeah, you don't have one unless you have. It was
If you don't have one, you're dead.
yeah. If you don't have one, you're dead. Pulse. Hey, by the way, if you're going to see me in a Columbia jersey, pick up a new Leaf trading card. All my 2024 ones are in a Columbia jersey. Nice job with the new pictures. 12 years old.
Look. Oh God. Ryan hadn't even started playing basketball the last time that you wore that jersey.
The last time I wore that jersey, he wasn't in middle school yet.
And now he's on the PBA tour.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't even that close.
Yeah.
They were still playing with a smaller basketball in YMCA ball or something.
Because he was born in the 2000s, right?
2002.
2002.
Yeah, he was 10 maybe the last time I wore that jersey.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Hair's a little darker. All right.
There we go.
So, I don't necessarily have an ideal 12. So, this is going to be a little bit like, I think we're going to do this as a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And we might argue back and forth over a couple of balls. I am going to bring up the Storm website because I
Ion
think
Max. That's at
it's
the
good.
top.
Sorry?
Ion Max is at the top.
Yes.
That
We
one we'll
both
agree on.
we both prefer the Ion Max. I think in our arsenal to any of the other strong balls are available right now. So let me stop sharing it. Oh no, it actually worked. Okay. So just a sec. There we go. All right. So currently, I think that I kind of like the absolute power off the Ion Max. I think you're a bit more on the XL team.
I'm on the XL team,
So that would be 2.
and then I would put the S2.
You like the S2 also?
Yeah, I would put that in as a ball around those.
Yeah, I mean that can work for me also. I would always have at the minute a DNA coil in there. I think Chris would have something different there, but I think we both have a Vibo.
Yeah, I think that in the DNA coil spot, I would put the Origin now early, but that's shiny big ball like that. That's where that one fit for me.
The Origin might end up being that. For me, it's stronger than the DNA coil.
Okay.
And the DNA coil. I know that people, certain other people say you shouldn't have favorite balls. I think that's kind of nonsense, to be honest. I think everybody, put it this way, it's not necessarily my favorite, but when I'm throwing that one, I'm scoring a lot.
Yeah, it's like the gem for me. I didn't get to use it a lot, especially at home, but when I got to throw it, when it was right, in the DCT before that, didn't throw it a lot, but when I threw it, I had a pretty good chance.
Here's where we might go off topic, off brand a little bit. Well, not brand necessarily, but you like this Phase AI, don't you?
I've kind of, I didn't actually take it out much this weekend because it's pretty strong and that place hooks too early for it. But I'm on, I like it enough. It would still be in a 12-ball arsenal.
Yeah, like for me, Phase 2 would probably be instead.
Yeah.
I know they're not necessarily. I just feel like Summit Ascent is another one that I actually haven't drilled as many of those as I necessarily probably should have done. But like one or other of those two would be in for me. We both have a urethane, depending on the rules, pitch black or 78, depending on what we're bowling.
Yeah.
I think we both have a Road Warrior,
Yeah.
right? When I'm not going in the direction of surges.
Ion Pro, we both have.
Ion Pro, yes. We both have a spare ball, whichever one that would be.
Yeah.
I do like the Attention Star a little more now that I've put Power Edge on it. I'm still not 100% sure that it would be in there, but I like it more. I think S2 for me has a chance alongside the Absolute Power. I think Chris would probably go XL and S2, like you were saying.
Yeah.
They've still got the jet. We've still got the gem around, so Chris would definitely have that one.
I would have it as, it'd be a 1A and 1B off the max.
I wouldn't have anything on this line personally. I haven't had much success with the idol. To be honest, over time, the original idol was great for me, but the rest of them haven't necessarily been that useful for me. Just over time. If I'm going for a weaker ball, I quite like this Hustle Rip.
It's my favorite of them.
Yeah, I like that one. Getting into the global, Sublime Focus for me,
shiny.
It fits a little bit in like what we were saying a bit about the idol. I could imagine if the Phase 2 was to be discontinued, I'd suddenly use that one a lot more. But I don't necessarily think it gives me anything that the Phase 2 doesn't. But the Phase 2 has got shitloads of credit in the bank.
True.
I feel like if the Phase 2 and the Sublime Focus came out the same day, I don't know which one I'd use. I don't necessarily think that the Phase, I throw a Phase 2 and think, oh my God, that's so much better than the Sublime Focus. I just have, it's almost like a comfort blanket, You've had it for so long that kind of how I feel about like when you never changed your fit for forever. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. Like that's how I feel about that one. Here's a ball that I think is a little polarizing, I think. Harsh Reality Pearl.
Ryan loves it. Not great for me.
Did you say Linda loves it?
Ryan,
okay.
yeah. Not loves it, but he likes it. The house shot stuff, he's pretty good with it.
I think he likes it when he's keeping it more in front of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and then Exponent Pearl.
Niche.
I don't know. I feel like,
but
yeah, it's just
the Black Tropical Surge I would have in is a low end ball. The low end.
Yeah, I'm fascinated the more I get to use the Road Warrior to see if I actually need a hustle anymore.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I probably won't. Just because I get it through the front part of the lane. So I don't know if we got to 12 there, but they're the balls that we kind of.
I feel like we did.
Yeah,
yeah,
just
my shiny focus is kind of taking the place of the AI in that slot for me. So
okay,
but yeah, it's time for me too, and got to go vote today. So
okay,
the extent of my political views at this point, but
yeah,
thanks for the question, and appreciate all you guys. Somebody hit their old Sublime with Power Edge. That might be a good call. Something I have not done yet. It's close. Maybe that's all it needs.
Yeah. Well, thank you to all the guys who purchased on the website. I will put you in the drawing for Thursday. We will do a drawing on Thursday. So I mean the drawing itself will be the entries will conclude on Thursday. So thank you to all those people who've supported us. We appreciate it. We will get on to, like I say, getting those drawings put together for next week. We'll give away a couple of balls. You can pick whatever you want. If you do end up taking one of these new ones, you'll have to wait a couple of weeks till the official release date, which I think is I had it as the 20th. Chris had it as the 25th. It is actually the 22nd. So I guess by that I win because the closest without going over.
We had it surrounded, but not in any way actually close. Yeah, there are a lot of videos up. We have Origin videos up. We have a match. We have a ball review. There's also an S2 ball review.
Yes.
And Barnesy has another match on there with us. Barnesy Bowling. So there's a lot of information out there. Encourage you to go see them and see how it goes, and see which one tracks for you. So more reviews coming. Keep the orders coming. That'll get you in the drawing. That we'll collect all those until the end of Thursday's show, and we'll give away some balls after that. So between now and then, please support the sponsor, support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Cool Wick, Bowlers Mart, Firelight Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum 4. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later, guys. Thank you.